a vacant stare and a goofy smile. This is Kim San, a loser obsessed with villain webtoons. He dreamed of becoming a villain to escape his reality as a bullied victim. If only he had power. He vowed to dominate the school, but 10 hours later, reality bit back as the bullies returned. A classmate cornered him, forcing a mysterious, dirty pill down his throat. The taste was absolutely vile. That night, agony tore through his gut. Alone and orphaned, San felt the weight of true despair. 7 days passed in a fever dream. When he finally woke, his hunger was gone, replaced by something else. An insatiable thirst consumed him. He downed a soda in seconds and unconsciously crushed the metal can. The metal buckled like thin paper. Was this because of that mysterious pill the bully made him swallow? Thinking of that scumbag ignited a blinding rage. He swung his arm, and a concrete pole shattered. With a thunderous boom, the massive structure collapsed. San realized his mistake, but it was far too late. The neighborhood was swallowed by darkness. Panic surged through him as he looked at the destruction. Hearing the neighbors' angry shouts, he fled in terror. He couldn't wrap his head around this transformation. He sprinted until his lungs burned. Back home, he stared at his hands in pure, utter disbelief. His existential crisis deepened. Seeing the mangled soda can, he decided to test his newfound strength. He gulped nervously and grabbed a heavy coin. With a simple squeeze, the solid metal began to bend. It crumpled like plastic. San gasped in horror. He now possessed the strength of a true monster. Unsure of this supernatural gift, he grabbed a thick book. He ripped through it like it was nothing. Next, he snapped a steel rod with his bare hands. The boy trembled as logic failed him entirely. Stumbling back, he took a shaky breath. It was time to test the limits of his physical body. He slammed a blade against his skin. Snap! The knife shattered, leaving his hand completely unscathed. His skin was impenetrable. Realizing his potential, Kim San rushed to the roof for one final test. He prepared for a massive leap. With a thunderous boom, a shockwave erupted beneath his feet. He rocketed into the stratosphere. Opening his eyes, he was floating high above the entire country. The land below looked like a toy. Suddenly, gravity took hold, pulling him down like a falling star. He hit the ground like a bomb. His bones were crushed. Yet days later, he stood up completely healed. His recovery was miraculous. With godlike speed, he returned home and turned on the television. He watched top-tier heroes being praised by the masses. Jealousy flared within his heart as he watched. Why do these heroes get all the glory? To him, they looked like arrogant, self-serving phonies. He looked at them with disgust, but then he saw a masked villain and felt a strange connection. The villain's mysterious vibe was captivating. Suddenly, a bold and dark ambition took hold of him. What if I use this power to become a villain? Villains are hated, but they are truly free. He would crush the heroes and steal their spotlight. He'd become the most badass character in history. In his stories, villains were wealthy and powerful. They were the true kings of their own world. But heroes, they are just corporate slaves, working endlessly only to be mocked and scrutinized by all. They get no peace, no salary, and are blamed for everything. Being a hero is a fool's errand. There is zero profit in being a hero. Only the path of the villain leads to true satisfaction. He shut his book with a grin. The legendary villains of fiction were about to become reality. His resolve was absolute. He would transform from a pathetic victim into a world-class predator. A sinister grin stretched across his face. His eyes burned with the fire of a true antagonist. I will be the greatest villain ever. But that dream hit a snag. He still had to attend school. Back at school, his dream felt distant. How does one even start being a high-tier villain? His resolve wavered. Maybe being a hero was easier. But suddenly, his best friend appeared. "Hey, you are alive. Why did you go missing?" His friend asked, unaware of the monster nearby. San masked his power with a fake smile. Inside, he was still processing his legendary transformation. "I am okay," he muttered. His friend shadowboxed, oblivious to the godlike strength San now possessed. "If I were him, I wouldn't miss that chance. Suddenly, a figure appears. It scares the soul out of him. Kim San's face turns bright crimson. It's his goddess. She asks why he's been skipping class lately. Are you turning into a thug? His face is now beet red. She leaves with a warning. Don't skip or I'll be watching you. His best friend stares longingly. Kim San's jealousy flares up instantly. Hey, eyes off my crush. But a sudden crash cuts him short. A heavy blow strikes the board. The entire classroom goes silent. Pure terror fills the room. The school's apex predators have arrived. It's a shakedown. Everyone must cough up 501 now. Kim San is seething. He's sick of these third-year leeches. His friend is trembling like a leaf, sweating buckets of fear. Seeing his friend surrender makes Kim San's blood boil in rage. He has godlike power now. Why should he fear these punks? Their cruelty knows no bounds. They even target the girls for money. They dare lay a finger on his crush. This is the final straw. The delinquents approach his desk, like sharks sensing blood in water. He tries to stay calm. Get lost, he growls at the bullies. Shock, no one has ever dared to defy them like this before. Are you deaf? Scram before I bury you right here. His voice is cold as ice. The bullies seem to hesitate. But it's all in his head. Reality is much more humiliating. A heavy arm drapes over him. What you say, little boy? Reality crashes down. Kim San cowers and avoids their deadly gaze. He pays the fee and takes a brutal slap to the face. After they leave, his friend tries to act tough and curses. Kim San gives him a deadpan look. Where was that energy earlier? He realizes that physical power is useless without a strong heart. He's still the same weak, pathetic loser from the day before. Was it just a dream? He picks up a stone to check. With a slight squeeze, the rock turns into fine gray dust. His strength is real, but his courage is still non-existent. He slumps on a bench. Becoming a cool villain seems impossible. The memory of being robbed burns in the back of his mind. Suddenly, a dark inspiration strikes. Robbery is actually easy money. That's it. He jumps up, but his conscience immediately stops him. He can't steal from innocence. His moral compass is still intact. New plan. He'll become a villain who only robs other criminals. A devilish smile spreads. This is the perfect path for him. It's justice through villainy. Time to start his dark transformation. He goes home and starts sewing a DIY Batman-inspired mask. It's just a scrap of cloth with 2 holes. He looks insane. The #1 mask. He stands tall, ready for his debut. Stop right there, I am the Owl Man. He strikes a pose. Snap, the mask breaks instantly. All that effort for nothing. Intense training was his only hope, or that DIY mask would have been a total embarrassment. Choosing a simple mask for safety, he prowled Dion's streets every night, searching for targets. But the elusive thugs were nowhere to be found. Finally, he spotted a group in an alley. Yet, catching his own reflection against their menacing glares sent a chill down his spine. Kim San's cowardice flared up again. He fled instantly, unable to hold back his bitter tears. Those bastards were just common thugs, yet he felt utterly useless. It was truly soul-crushing. For 2 agonizing weeks, he haunted those alleys like a ghost, despite having 0 results. His spirits remained high. Slowly, he began to recognize the faces of the local punks. Yet, every time he stood nearby, his legs shook like leaves in a violent storm. He needed an easy target to practice on. Suddenly, 2 brown-uniformed Dion students appeared. Quickly, he reached for his magic mirror to fortify his crumbling resolve and shaky spirit. Kim San, you have superpowers, you can do this. He finally mustered the courage to strike. He blocked their path and roared, "Hey, you too," trying to look like a legendary threat. Shaking visibly, he demanded they hand over 10-1. Behind the mask, his face burned red. He thought he looked cool, but he was just a scrawny kid playing a dangerous game. The thugs were stunned by the starving-looking boy. They burst into fits of mocking laughter. Is this kid retarded? Being ridiculed during his first heist made Kim San freeze in shame. They didn't hide their amusement, stepping closer to rip the mask off his trembling face. His momentum vanished instantly. Panic surged through him as he shrank back in total fear. They loomed over him, a full head taller. There was no escaping their massive, looming shadows. The leader clenched his fist to strike, but a massive hand suddenly intervened, stopping him cold. The punk snapped, "Who dares to stop me?" as he glared at the mysterious intruder. A smiling man stood there, lecturing them that children should never resort to mindless violence. It was the legendary hero seen on television. The famous 𝒀𝒏𝒄𝒏 had finally arrived on the scene. The hero of 𝒀𝒏𝒈 stood before them. Seeing 𝒀𝒏𝒄𝒏 made the delinquents shake with terror. Cold sweat drenched their brows. They had actually come face to face with a real-life legendary hero. They wanted to bolt, but one punk drew a dagger, ready to challenge the legend himself. Kim-san watched in awe. He couldn't believe Ryan, the legendary hero, was standing right there. Facing the rebellious youth, the hero gave a mocking smirk that fueled the punk's blind rage. "You think I won't stab you?" the punk roared, feeling his pride being utterly crushed. He charged blindly with his blade, oblivious to the monstrous gap in their combat power. Against the sharp steel, the hero merely raised 2 fingers, with a simple, effortless flick. The blade shattered. The punk stood there, his entire worldview completely destroyed and shattered. Looking at the broken hilt, the hero considered mercy. He was just a misguided brat. But his mind changed. He delivered a strike that sent the punk into eternal slumber. The other punk watched his friend collapse, his mind racing with pure, unadulterated shock. The hero spared the blonde one, ordering him to carry his fallen comrade back home. Despite the mercy, the blonde punk kept barking, testing the hero's limited and dangerous patience. The hero's gaze turned murderous. "Do you have a death wish, kid? Answer me now." The punk's bravado crumbled instantly. He forced a weak smile and fled into the night. Left alone, the hero sighed, lamenting the stray path the youth of today were taking. He turned his sharp gaze toward Kim-san. "Why are you still standing here, kid? Were you trying to rob them?" He continued lecturing the boy without missing a single beat. He noted Kim-san's frail frame. Clearly, he wasn't built for the life of a criminal. Despite the hero's lecture, Kim-san remained silent, his heart pounding with a newfound resolve. Humiliated and ignored, the hero could only retreat in shame, leaving with a sharp, mocking warning. He told Kim-san to get stronger before playing tough, a brutal reality check for the weak. Though he'd sworn he'd rather die than be saved by him, Kim-san pathetically accepted his help. A wave of pure humiliation crashed over Kim-san as he realized how truly pathetic he was. He couldn't stop shaking from self-disgust, yet a primal rage began to flicker deep within his eyes. An unprecedented fury boiled over. He tore at his hair, cursing the cowardice that paralyzed his soul. He stood frozen, consumed by bitterness for being too terrified to face those monstrous delinquents. Voices of self-loathing echoed in his ears, a relentless whisper that refused to grant him any peace. Kim-san clutched his head in agony as the dark voices screamed, driving him toward total desperation. The voice taunted, "If you're this scared, what can you possibly do?" The realization struck like lightning. Nearby, a new pack of thugs prowling the streets spotted Kim-san broken on the ground. A yellow-haired punk approached the trembling boy, looking to start a fresh round of hell. Claiming to be from the notorious Gangung High, he demanded a name but received only silence. A red-haired delinquent sneered, assuming Kim-san had already been thrashed and left for dead. Their cruel laughter rang out, mocking him for being a loser who couldn't even defend himself. Overestimating his power, the yellow-haired thug reached out and grabbed Kim-san by the hair. As they insulted him, the voice in Kim-san's head grew louder. "Just kill him already." Unaware of the monster they were poking, the thugs laughed, oblivious to the impending danger. The voice urged, "Why hesitate? You don't need strength, just one swing and it's all over." Enraged by Kim-san's silence, the yellow-haired thug's face twisted into a mask of pure murderous intent. He barked for Kim-san to speak, grabbing a heavy branch as a final, deadly threat. Kim San heard nothing of the threats. His mind was a storm of that singular, dark command. The word kill, repeated like an unstoppable mantra, taking total control of his very being. He squeezed his eyes shut, desperately fighting the urge to surrender to the darkness within. As the thug lunged forward with arrogant confidence, Kim San finally fell into a cold silence. He was no longer in control. The voice had taken over, turning him into a weapon. The command was simple: take their lives. Kim San rose, his movements no longer human. With one swift motion, he severed the thug's arm, leaving the others paralyzed in absolute horror. Their jaws dropped as blood sprayed. They stared at Kim San, whose eyes glowed with malice. A chilling voice escaped his lips. "You pests are being way too noisy." The air turned freezing. The yellow-haired victim stood dazed, not even realizing his limb was gone until the shock hit. As the thug turned pale, Kim San suddenly snapped back, trembling at the sight of the blood. "I didn't mean to," he stammered, as the thug finally began to scream in pure agony. The delinquent collapsed into a massive pool of crimson, his life force draining into the earth. The remaining two thugs looked at Kim San as if he were a demon born from hell. They fled in terror, leaving Kim San alone with the mangled body and his terrifying power. Cold sweat drenched him as he stared at the motionless corpse, the weight of it all crushing. By morning, news of the brutal alleyway murder had spread, sending shockwaves through the entire city. The victim was an 18-year-old boy, found dead in a massive pool of his own blood. The body reached the morgue, where time of death was officially marked at exactly 11:10 p.m. Forensics confirmed he bled out from a severed limb, the sheer shock stopping his heart instantly. The wound was terrifyingly precise, as if carved by a razor-sharp axe in one devastating blow. The local hero's face darkened with guilt, knowing he had patrolled that area just yesterday. He blamed himself, but after examining the body, he realized something was very, very wrong. This wasn't the work of a blade or an axe. It was something far more unnatural. The analysis was chillingly accurate. Such devastation was caused by bare hands alone, requiring speed that defied human logic. It looked identical, yet the forensic experts struggled to believe such supernatural power existed. It was as if a ghost had struck. They had never witnessed such divine mastery before. Only a true hero could face opponents with such overwhelming, mystical capabilities. Calculations proved this wasn't the work of a mere mortal. The investigator realized they were dealing with something far beyond human. Forensics speculated a link to the monster outbreaks, recalling similar gruesome incidents from the dark archives of the past. Yesterday's reports mentioned a suspicious masked figure lurking nearby, sparking rumors of a mysterious shadow warrior in the area. Hino recalled a suspicious boy named Kim San, but seeing his pathetic, weak frame, he immediately crossed him off the list. Dismissing the weakling as a suspect, the hero bid farewell to the forensics team, intent on hunting the real threat. Nearby, a young couple was enjoying their date when the world suddenly shattered. A massive explosion ripped through a skyscraper. The building detonated instantly, sending debris raining down. Pedestrians narrowly escaped death, paralyzed by the sheer terror of the blast. Through the thick veil of smoke and dust, onlookers strained to see what nightmare had been unleashed upon their city. The man stood frozen, his face contorted in pure horror. What he saw was a scene straight out of a catastrophe. A monstrous beast had descended, shattering the concrete and sending cracks spiderwebbing across the entire street like a fallen meteor. As the panicked crowd scrambled for their lives, the creature moved with blinding speed, appearing instantly before a helpless man. The beast claimed its victim instantly. Beside him, a girl watched in soul-crushing terror, her screams echoing through the chaotic streets. Amidst the desperate evacuation, a bystander noticed something bizarre protruding from a nearby wall, adding to the unfolding nightmare. A villain clad in golden underwear emerged from the ruins, wearing a despicable, wicked grin that signaled pure malice. That new antagonist didn't even last 3 seconds before being obliterated. Meanwhile, the terrified crowd fled as if their lives depended on it. Suddenly, a bespectacled youth stood calm amidst the carnage. A kind soul urged him to run, but he didn't flinch. The youth adjusted his glasses with cold confidence. He shed his mundane coat, revealing the hidden truth beneath his civilian disguise. Underneath was the full battle suit of a legendary hero. Truly, the unassuming geeks are always the most dangerous ones. The monster was too busy feasting on its prey to notice the superhero standing right behind him, ready for battle. Seeing the hero's sudden appearance, the beast's killing spree came to a grinding halt. It was completely paralyzed with shock. "Why are you standing there like that?" The monster's eyes widened as it recognized the iconic emblem on the hero's chest. Terror gripped the beast. It tried to teleport away, leaving the hero standing there, having stripped off his clothes for nothing. The hero looked around, confused by the empty space. Despite its massive size, the monster had the heart of a coward. Frightened out of its wits, the beast scrambled up a wall, clinging to it like a terrified kitten facing a predator. It realized it was facing the legendary Hino, the man whispered to be the strongest and most invincible being alive. The beast's pathetic trembling was almost comical. The hero took a moment to style his hair, finalizing his battle transformation. Now fully prepped and looking flawless, the hero radiated an aura of absolute dominance that suffocated the air around them. "I'll wipe out you pests today," he declared with supreme confidence. To the hero, these high-level monsters were just insects. Being called a mere bug wounded the high-ranking monster's pride, fueling a desperate rage within its twisted, monstrous heart. Overcome by fury, the six-clawed beast lunged downward, aiming to tear the hero apart with its razor-sharp, demonic talons. Hero Hino's arm surged with high-voltage electricity. In a flash of blinding light, he unleashed a devastating, god-tier strike. The monster was reduced to a pulp, its body pulverized beyond recognition. Its partner in golden underwear screamed in agonizing grief. Watching his comrade die sparked a bizarre transformation in the golden-clad villain, his tears fueling a sudden, dark power-up. He unleashed a miraculous, fiery aura. Flames erupted as he tightened his fists, channeling the very fires of hell itself. He charged forward to avenge his fallen brother, but just as he was about to strike, he skidded to a halt. A divine, shimmering light filled the sky. The towering silhouette of a goddess appeared, glowing with the radiance of 10 directions. The villain was blinded by the light of the holy saintess, a supreme ultimate move summoned by the legendary hero. The goddess's massive, eerie eyes locked onto the golden villain. To her, he was nothing more than a bothersome mosquito. With one divine clap, the ritual was complete, sending the villain straight to the afterlife. The threat was neutralized instantly. Everything was settled in a heartbeat. The fleeing citizens stopped, their brains struggling to process the sudden victory they witnessed. Realizing the monsters were dead, the crowd erupted into thunderous cheers, worshipping the hero who had saved their lives today. Seeing the overwhelming adoration of the masses, Hero Hino could only scratch his head. This fame was becoming quite a hassle. Suddenly, a mother and daughter duo rush forward, driven by pure fanatical devotion for their idol. Being a public figure, he forces a plastic, corporate smile and poses for a heavily filtered selfie. But the peace is shattered as a sea of smartphones swarms his face, everyone demanding their turn. It's a total disaster. The hero is left flustered, struggling to manage a crowd more numerous than ants. Just then, a suited agent intervenes, handing him a phone. On the other end is the legend, RP. In an instant, the fake idol's smile vanishes. The atmosphere turns heavy as the grim report comes in. A male student's corpse was found, and he's missing an entire arm. Hino's expression turns ice cold. Hanging up, a terrifying aura of bloodlust radiates from him. He issues an immediate emergency summons. He's calling Gregory, the world's most elite sanctuary and the strongest superhuman organization on the planet. Back at headquarters, RP briefs the gathered legends on the brutal incident that just took place. A cocky redhead from the Red Titan unit scoffs, doubting anyone could sever a limb with bare hands. Meanwhile, the massive Jane looks on with grim intensity. RP confirms the strike was inhumanly fast. The precision was godlike, a feat even he couldn't replicate. Russian Blue, the purple-haired hero, is visibly shaken. If RP is their pinnacle, and even he's baffled, then the culprit's power level is truly off the charts. Red's ego takes a hit, feeling insulted by the comparison. His face twists in a fit of rage. Red SB just laughs in his face. It's obvious Red doesn't have the caliber to pull this off. The argument heats up. RP goes for the jugular, mocking not just Red's height, but his manhood too. Red is left petrified by the disrespect. Beside him, Esther is completely fed up with these brain-dead men. Then there's Denny's, a hero who might outclass them all, but he's currently off-grid hunting a fugitive. Hino concludes that a dangerous new player has entered the game, a superhuman wildcard with lethal intent. Little do they know, the monster is currently curled in a dark corner, drowning in self-loathing. After seeing the morning news, Kim San is certain. The prison bars are already closing in on him. But the truly terrifying part, he feels absolutely zero remorse for the life he just snuffed out. A sinister voice echoes in his skull. Are you afraid of killing, or just afraid of getting caught? Just erase them all, the voice whispers. San clutches his head in agony as his sanity fractures. The voice declares they are one. Suddenly, San's trembling stops, and his gaze turns sharp and predatory. The next day, he skips school again. His crush is sick with worry, questioning his best friend. The friend just shrugs it off, guessing it's a fever, but she knows San is an orphan with no help. While the loyal friend stays indifferent, San is out on the streets, his morality rotting away. He's embracing his new nature. When a pack of low-life delinquents corners him, he doesn't even blink. Their moves are like slow motion. With cold grace, he dismantles the thugs, leaving them broken in the dirt. But the most terrifying realization was the chilling lack of remorse for his own brutal actions. That haunting inner voice echoed through his mind, forcing him to tremble in pure, unadulterated horror. It relentlessly questioned him. Are you afraid of killing, or simply afraid of being caught? Just eliminate them all, the shadow whispered, driving him to clutch his head in absolute agony. But as the voice declared they were one, Kim San's gaze transformed into something cold and sharp. His eyes were now predatory. The next day, he skipped class again, leaving his crush deeply worried. She questioned his best friend, who could only offer a shrug and a casual, dismissive guess. He joked that San was just sick, yet her anxiety grew, knowing San lived entirely alone. As an orphan with no one to lean on, his supposedly loyal friend didn't care at all. San wasn't resting, though. He was out on the streets, extorting cash and shedding his humanity. Guilt was a distant memory. He was quickly adapting to his new life as a ruthless predator. Encountering a gang of thugs, the once terrified victim now stood his ground with newfound, icy courage. He predicted their amateurish moves effortlessly, dodging every swing with a calm, surgical precision. Without a hint of hesitation, he struck back, brutally dismantling the delinquents in a single breath. He was raking in the cash. At this rate, life was better than a dream. Walking down the street, he wondered why he hadn't started this business sooner. Then, disaster struck. A familiar silhouette was chasing him. His heart stopped. It was his goddess. The goddess of his heart. He was wearing a mask, so how did she know? He ripped the mask off, hiding it behind his back with a panicked, awkward smile. Kim San had been skipping school, and she was genuinely worried sick about him. Was the teacher making her do this? He couldn't believe this stroke of luck. She turned bright red. Was she shy, or was he about to get wrecked? One punch sent him reeling. Was she a girl or a hidden martial arts master? Every time she got embarrassed, another blow landed. His head was spinning like a top. She finally stopped, strictly demanding he show up to class first thing tomorrow morning. Bruised and swollen, Kim San still tried to act cool and offer a walk home. Rejected instantly. I'm such a pathetic loser, he cursed his own missed opportunity. Back home, he realized his obsession with easy money made him forget his student life. Laziness was winning, but then her beautiful face flashed in his mind. Pure motivation. With blushing cheeks, the former victim finally headed back to the school gates. Before he could find her, his best friend arrived, looking like a panicked maiden. He saw his goddess for 3 seconds before a blood-curdling scream echoed through the halls. Everyone sit down. Of course, his luck had to run out on day 1. The school's low-life delinquents were here for their weekly protection tax collection. Kim San had almost forgotten this pathetic, daily routine even existed in this place. They demanded $500 for their services, just more parasites looking for a meal. After his secret nightly training, these thugs looked like mere ants to him now. They were just glorified beggars. He tried to stay low-key and just pay them off. He reached into his pocket, only to find absolutely nothing but air. Haha, my bad, I forgot it was payday. Can I catch you guys next time? One thug lunged forward, but the buzz-cut leader stepped in to handle it. He wanted to personally break Kim San's spirit and show him who was boss. The leader was fuming. He felt mocked by the boy he used to bully. $500 is too much. He didn't notice the cold shift in San's eyes. Kim San's expression went dark. All the years of suppressed rage began to boil over. His eyes burned red. A voice inside his head whispered, "Kill them all." They landed a punch and tried to move on to the next classroom. But the monster within Kim San had already been fully awakened by their touch. He glared at them with a murderous, terrifying aura that chilled the very air. "Where do you think you're going?" His voice sounded like it came from hell. He didn't flinch. Kim San stood his ground against the school's apex predators. His best friend was trembling beside him, his face turning white as a ghost. "Are you insane? Just apologize already," his friend begged in a shaky whisper. The entire class watched in stunned silence. A legend was being born today. The leader's veins popped with pure fury. This was an unforgivable act of defiance. "What did you just bark? Say it to my face one more time." Kim San just smirked. He was practically begging for the leader to try him. The thug raised a heavy fist, ready to deliver a devastating, bone-breaking blow. But the school bell rang. They were out of time for their little game. Desperate to flee before the supervisor arrived, the thugs threw one final, venomous threat at Kim San. "After school, you're dead," they snarled, mocking the boy who seemed to have forgotten the meaning of fear. Before retreating, they made sure to leave a warning, their arrogant faces twisted with pure, school bully malice. Kim San had successfully lit their fuses once more, but before the lead delinquent could exert his dominance, the teacher stormed in, shattering the tension. "Is this a classroom or a damn wet market? Break it up." They retreated like obedient dogs, but their eyes promised a bloodbath. This was far from over. They vowed to crush him into the dirt, but the teacher shooed them away like annoying, buzzing flies. As they scrambled out, Kim San's best friend turned to him, face pale with horror. "Are you insane?" He had been a tiger moments ago, but now, the reality of the situation hit him like a truck. Recalling his sudden outburst of bravado, Kim San felt a wave of dread. If he got caught, he was toast. He wanted to run for the hills, but then he saw his goddess, his crush, watching the entire scene unfold. His face flushed crimson. He couldn't act like a coward now. He had to maintain his manly image. She rushed over immediately, eyes wide with terror. "What are you doing? You need to run right now." She was terrified for his life, but Kim San, he was busy basking in the glory of her attention. To her, Kim San was just a scrawny stick of a guy. He couldn't survive those monsters. "Are you some immature brat looking for trouble?" she scolded. Her words shattered his pride instantly. It felt like a dagger to the heart. He talked big to look cool, but failed miserably. Realizing his cool guy act had backfired, he could only offer a pathetic, awkward laugh to hide his shame. "Haha, I'm not a kid, really," he stammered, but it was too late. Escape was no longer an option. The crew-cut bully had arrived. Finding Kim San still in the classroom, a sinister smirk played on his lips. "So you didn't run away after all," he mocked. Suddenly, Kim San's crush stepped forward to protect him. "Back off or I'm calling the teacher," she yelled, but the bully didn't give a damn about her. He ignored her completely, locking eyes with Kim San. "Come with me," seeing his goddess fuming with rage. Kim San stepped in, gently holding her back. "It's okay, I'll handle this," he whispered, trying to sound brave. The bully burst out laughing at the display. He was certain Kim San was about to become a punching bag. As she watched him walk away with those thugs, her heart sank. The worry on her face was agonizing. Once outside, the lead bully's facade dropped. "You little rat, what did you say to me earlier?" To keep the peace, Kim San forced a submissive smile. "My bad, I guess I got carried away." He tried to play the innocent victim, but the wolves weren't buying his pathetic, cowardly act. "Look at him now, just a turtle hiding in its shell," they jeered. Then the bully struck. A heavy blow landed on Kim San's head, nearly knocking him out. "Where's that big mouth now? Bark." "I'll teach you the reality of this school," the bully roared, delivering a brutal kick to Kim San's face. Kim San flew backward, hitting the ground like a sack of bricks. He was a pathetic, broken sight. "Today is the day you die," the bully shouted. Suddenly, two other lowlifes emerged from the shadows. These bottom feeders wanted a piece of the action too. Seeing them, something deep within Kim San snapped. A dark, cold voice echoed in his mind. "Kill them!" Suddenly, a crimson glow ignited in his eyes. Pure killing intent flooded his vision. The voice hissed like a demonic possession. "How dare these trash? How dare they touch a hair on my head?" A wave of absolute hatred surged within his soul. The entity hungered for blood, expecting a massacre, but it didn't expect what Kim San did next. Instead of exploding in rage, Kim San forced a smile and apologized. The voice went absolutely ballistic. "Why apologize? Take their lives now," it screamed. But Kim San remained eerily calm, suppressing the beast. He was determined to settle this without blood. But after failing to convince him, the voice's tone shifted. It began to laugh hysterically, a chilling, insane sound that sent shivers down Kim San's spine. Kim San's face turned deathly pale, sweat pouring down his forehead. Then, the voice whispered the truth. "Don't act so innocent. After all, you've already killed someone, haven't you?" That single sentence froze him. Kim San recalled that brutal night. The spiky-haired thug lost patience and lunged forward. He grabbed San's collar, raining down heavy blows like he was hitting a punching bag. "Bark for me, you trash," he mocked, as the sounds of impact echoed through the hallway. Yet the pain didn't break San. Instead, a cold, sharp focus began to take over. A voice in his head sneered, "Pathetic." That single thought triggered an inner monster. San's hand shot out, catching the thug's fist midair with effortless, terrifying precision. The bully gasped, unable to believe his victim was resisting. "Let go, you bastard." But San's patience had evaporated. He squeezed, and the sickening sound of bone snapping followed. The thug's arrogance vanished, replaced by a blood-curdling scream of pure, agonizing pain. His two lackeys froze in shock, unable to comprehend the sudden reversal of power. Desperate, the thug swung his other fist wildly, trying to escape San's iron grip. But to San, these punches felt like mere ant bites. He didn't even flinch. He looked at the bully's arm, as if it were nothing more than soft tofu. With one cold gaze, San applied pressure, snapping the limb into two jagged pieces instantly. The bully collapsed, howling in absolute misery while clutching his mangled, broken arm. Suddenly, San snapped back to reality. "Wait, did I really just break his arm?" Seeing their leader down, the other two thugs charged together, fueled by desperate rage. San didn't move. Their frantic attacks felt like they were just dusting off his clothes. With a bored expression, he moved. His counterattack was a blur of lethal, calculated speed. A heavy kick shattered the first thug's leg. The sound of cracking bone was deafening. One blow was all it took to leave the delinquent wailing in the dirt. The last thug trembled and backed away, But San wasn't finished with him yet. San's palm slammed into his face, sending him straight to a dental surgeon's office. In a mere heartbeat, all three bullies were writhing in agony at San's feet. Clinging to his broken limb, the leader shivered. Who the hell are you? They saw a predator's gaze in San's eyes, a look far more terrifying than any boss. We're sorry, please spare us, they begged, their pride completely shattered like their bones. San looked down with cold, hollow eyes, making the thugs break into a cold sweat. One final scream echoed as they fled. The two girls nearby watched, paralyzed by fear. They tried to act tough, shouting insults. Back off, do you know who we are? San didn't care about gender. He only cared about settling the long-overdue debt. He dealt with them swiftly and walked away, looking like a true dark hero. Soon, the trio ended up in the hospital. One suggested reporting this to 𝒀𝒧𝒧𝒐. What's the point? The leader spat. A broken arm is still a broken arm. They were terrified. They had no money left to pay the school boss, Dong-soo. Without that tribute, their lives were over. The fear of Dong-soo was overwhelming. The leader's face went pale. Just thinking of the punishment made his skin crawl. Suddenly, the hospital door swung open, and a heavy silence filled the room. It was 𝒀𝒧💧💈, the golden-haired monster and king of the first-year class at 𝑦𝒐𝒏. Seeing his crew in such a pathetic state, he barked, "You useless pieces of trash." Beaten by one kid, 𝒀𝒧💧💈 turned to leave, his face twisted in pure disgust. The spiky-haired thug grabbed his sleeve. 𝒀𝒧💧💈, stop. Don't go after him, just don't. 𝒀𝒧💧💈 paused, confused. He had never seen his subordinate this genuinely terrified before. The mere mention of San made the thug's entire body shake with uncontrollable trauma. Seeing this, 𝒀𝒧💧💈 began to wonder, what kind of monster had Kim San become? Disgusted by their pathetic weakness, he demanded they spill the truth. Who was that guy? Just the memory made the thug's face turn pale. Cold sweat poured as terror took hold. To them, he wasn't even human. All three shared the same soul-crushing trauma. 𝒀𝒧💧💈 watched their trembling closely. Was this newcomer really that much of a monster? Back at the hideout, the lackeys nervously asked how they would handle this disaster. 𝒀𝒧💧💈 snapped back instantly, calling them idiots. He wasn't about to act reckless. Having seen his men utterly destroyed, 𝒀𝒧💧💈 wasn't suicidal enough to jump into the fire. His advisor looked annoyed. As the first-year boss, 𝒀𝒧💧💈's reputation was on the line. If the king didn't step up, who would? But 𝒀𝒧💧💈 knew the brutal reality. Taking down 3 elites at once meant a solo fight was a death sentence. He wondered, could this guy be one of those rumored superpowered awakeners? He wanted to stay far away from the trouble, but then a chilling voice called his name. It was the legendary apex predator and king of the seniors, the notorious Jong-soo. The absolute leader of the Namba gang at Yongsan High had finally appeared. 𝒀𝒧💧💈 instantly turned into a submissive dog, trembling before the predator's overwhelming gaze. Today was the deadline for protection money, and 𝒀𝒧💧💈 was still coming up short. He begged for a little more time, but mercy didn't exist in Jong-soo's dictionary. A thunderous strike sent 𝒀𝒧💧💈 reeling. Jong-soo sneered, asking if he'd forgotten his place. With cold brutality, the senior boss gave him a final warning. Pay up by tomorrow. Or pay with your life. 𝒀𝒧💧💈 could only bow his head in pathetic submission. Once the seniors left, the lackeys tried to comfort their bruised and humiliated leader. 𝒀𝒧💧💈 exploded in fury. The submissive act vanished, replaced by a murderous, burning rage. That bastard, just wait. He vowed he wouldn't suffer this humiliation for much longer. He hatched a dark plan. To kill a monster, he needed a monster of his own. Suddenly, a realization struck. He remembered the golden rookie who had just appeared. A sinister smirk crept across his face. He's the one, he's my secret weapon. If he could play his cards right, he'd crush the seniors like insects. Meanwhile, Kim San was heading for dinner when 𝒀𝒧💧💈 suddenly blocked his path. The boss was inspecting the goods. San recognized the freshman king's face immediately. 𝒀𝒧💧💈 was a legend, famed for his brains, brawn, and looks since middle school. San braced himself, suspecting the king was there to avenge his fallen subordinates. Tijin had done his homework. He knew everything about San, down to his class. This wasn't a friendly visit. San sharpened his gaze, ready for a bloody clash. But Tijin was smart. He knew a solo fight would only end in his defeat. San couldn't fathom why else the king of freshmen would seek him out personally. Tijin didn't beat around the bush. He went straight for the ultimate goal. He offered a scout's deal. Let's join forces and conquer all of Yongsan High. It was a tempting offer for most, but San shot it down without hesitation. Tijin's smile faltered. He urged San to reconsider, but the rejection was cold. San wasn't interested in school politics and walked away without a second glance. Seeing his target leave, Tijin played his final trump card, the massive profits. That stopped San in his tracks. His dream of becoming a villain required cash. To be a true antagonist, he needed a war chest. Money was the first step. He hesitated. This meant he wouldn't have to mug low-level thugs for pocket change. Seeing the opening, Tijin moved in to seal the deal with his new weapon. San figured he had nothing to lose. He decided to give the guy a chance to speak. But once he heard the plan to conquer Yongsan High, Kim San froze in his tracks. Cold sweat poured down his face. This is too much. Do it yourself. Why involve me? The guy was desperate for San's monstrous strength, the power to shatter bones in an instant. San glared at him with pure suspicion. Was this guy actually serious or just delusional? You act like you know me so well. The guy just smirked with a mysterious gaze. You're a superhuman. San flinched at the words, making Tijin jump with absolute joy. I knew it. No ordinary person could ever strike like that. He cheered like a madman. Seeing through the sudden hype, San stared him down with a cold and piercing look. San made his stance clear. I don't follow orders. I only do what I feel is necessary. The glasses-wearing lackey exploded in rage, spewing a barrage of bleeped-out insults. San broke into a cold sweat, avoiding eye contact to keep the situation from escalating. Tijin silenced his loud-mouthed friend. Meanwhile, San began questioning this entire alliance. He feared they would just use him, but Tijin began his silver-tongued persuasion. You'll be the leader, total freedom. San paused. This deal actually didn't sound too bad. He finally agreed, but refused the title. The only thing he cared about was the cash. A handshake sealed their pact. San worried about being exposed, but the die was cast. It was easy money for doing nothing. What could possibly go wrong? Little did he know. Dong Su lacked real power, but his greed was infinite and his soul was pitch black. He chose the path of a predator, living as a parasite off the weak and vulnerable. He thrived on misery, climbing to the top by stepping on everyone else's heads. His parents slaved away for him, but he only cared about street brawls and cheap shots. His face grew more sinister by the day. His reputation as a lowlife spread like wildfire. In middle school, he was the self-proclaimed king. He thought no one could ever touch him. Entering high school, his arrogance peaked. He puffed away on cigarettes, mocking the rules. That's when the big fish noticed. A second-year senior decided to pay him a visit. Dong Su felt a chill down his spine, but his pride refused to let him flinch. He didn't realize it, but he was facing the school's true apex predator and king. The year 2 boss loomed over him. Dong Su just spat his cigarette out like trash. He knew the guy was a pro boxer's son, but he didn't give a damn about anyone. He stood his ground, ready to clash. He didn't care about bloodlines or reputations. He challenged the senior to a fight, overflowing with a massive amount of misplaced confidence. No one had ever dared to mock the senior like this. His fury was absolutely palpable. The lesson was swift and brutal. Dong Su was left gasping for air on the dirt. It was a pathetic defeat. A pro fighter's skill was on a completely different level. The senior took the win effortlessly. He was merciful enough to end the humiliation there. He didn't mock Dong Su's failure. Instead, he looked like a true cool-headed king. He offered friendship instead of hate. From that moment, an unexpected bond was forged. They became inseparable brothers. The senior loved Dong-su's stubborn and rebellious attitude, that unwavering spirit and refusal to bow. The senior found it truly and deeply admirable. Dong-su respected the senior's sheer dominance. This was a friendship built on raw steel. They dreamed of conquering the world together after graduation, but fate had other plans. Dong-su eventually lost his way. He led a pack of dogs to terrorize everyone. They swung bats with zero mercy. They even stole people's most precious family treasures. After leaving victims broken and bloody, they robbed them of their very last shred of dignity. News of the weakling's defiance reached the senior, whose rage exploded as he slammed his fist into the locker. He roared through the door, "Are you lunatics insane? Do you want the cops to haul us all away?" He ordered the extortion crew to assume the horse stance for punishment, and the weak-willed immediately began to tremble. Most apologized instantly to save their skins, but Dong-su stood tall, his eyes burning with cold, defiant arrogance. He shouldered the entire blame for the incident, a move that only served to fuel the senior's mounting fury. The senior spat vitriol, calling them nothing but parasites, but his words failed to move the white-shirted rebel. When the boy dared to talk back, the senior delivered a thunderous slap that nearly knocked him unconscious. A brutal flurry of strikes followed as the senior tried to beat the street thug mentality out of his junior. Amidst the crushing tension, Dong-su smirked and declared, "We are delinquents. What else did you expect us to be?" The senior froze in shock, spinning around and demanding the young punk repeat those words once more. It was the ugly truth. They weren't students. They were predators hunting for easy cash and protection money. Dong-su's gaze dripped with pure contempt as he stared at his senior's mask of fake righteousness and hypocrisy. He looked at the leader like he was utter trash, no better than the very scum he was scolding. Infuriated, the senior began to shout, but Dong-su cut him off with a cold, battle-hungry challenge for dominance. One fight to settle everything. The senior couldn't believe his ears. Was his own protégé truly turning on him? The very boy he raised was now challenging him for the crown of the school's supreme boss. The senior's face darkened with rage. He realized Dong-su wasn't bluffing. This was an all-out declaration of war. He turned to his subordinates, barking orders for them to restrain the rebellious Dong-su immediately. But the tide had turned. His loyal hounds stood still, ignoring his commands and looking away in silence. They had chosen a new king. To these predators, money and power were the only things that mattered. They were tired of the senior's moral lectures. They lived by their fists, not by his hollow rules. Dong-su proposed a simple deal, a final showdown. The loser packs their bags and leaves this school forever. Stunned but prideful, the senior scoffed. "If a fight is what you want, then I'll bury you right here." He was determined to put this street rat in his place. Yet Dong-su's mocking smirk never wavered. The blatant disrespect fueled the senior's hatred, but Dong-su was already done talking and ready for action. He began stretching, ready to fight as if they were total strangers, holding nothing back for the slaughter. Word spread like wildfire. "The two titans are clashing." Students rushed to witness the legendary throne struggle. The senior shed his hesitation and rolled up his sleeves. The time for mercy was officially over. Dong-su flashed back to 1 year ago, the day he was beaten like a stray dog in the dirt. That humiliation was etched into his soul. Today, the senior planned to reinforce that painful lesson once again. Their killing intent surged as they faced off, both warriors clenching their fists, ready to shatter the atmosphere. They collided with explosive force. Dong-su knew his opponent's strength was a mountain he had to climb. Despite the gap, he lunged forward, nearly shattering the senior's jaw with a lightning-fast opening strike. The senior countered instantly with a devastating uppercut. A year ago, Dong-su would have crumbled right there. He used to be a victim, but now, a burning confidence fueled his resolve to never lose again. Yet determination wasn't enough. A heavy kick sent Dong-su flying, crashing hard against the cold pavement. He tasted the dirt. The seniors' supporters erupted in cheers, celebrating what looked like an easy victory. While one side roared, Dong-su's underlings watched in terror, their faces pale with impending doom. Dong-su had trained like a demon for a year, yet he still seemed leagues below the senior. "You're still just a pup," the senior sneered, looking down. "Listen to me and stop this pathetic drama." Despite the betrayal, the senior's soft spot remained, as he prepared to carry his fallen protege to safety. He moved toward the motionless body, concern masking his anger, ready to call for an ambulance immediately. He reached out to hoist him up, but suddenly, Dong-su's eyes snapped open with a predatory glint. "What do you think you're doing?" Dong-su whispered, his voice sending a chill down the senior's spine. Before he could react, Dong-su struck like a viper, delivering a bone-shattering blow to the senior's leg. That snake, he'd hidden iron rings on his fingers all along, proving he'd discard every shred of honor for a win. Flashing a pathetic, deceptive smile to lower the senior's guard, he launched a cowardly surprise attack before barking out a crazed declaration. "I haven't surrendered yet," he shouted like a man possessed, driven by a singular, twisted obsession with standing at the top. To him, the method didn't matter, only the result did, for the last one standing is the only one who truly wins. The senior groaned in agony, gritting his teeth against the searing pain, while his broken leg screamed in protest against the betrayal. That bastard Dong-su didn't stop shamelessly gloating about the secret weapons he'd bought specifically to overthrow his own leader's reign. He'd prepared these solid metal rings in advance, knowing one direct hit could shatter multiple bones and instantly end any resistance. Dropping his mask of loyalty, he let out a chilling laugh. "Weren't you going to carry me, senior? How precious of you." The senior, who had treated him with nothing but kindness, was forced to witness the true ugly face of the man he trusted. But before he could even process the treachery, Dong-su struck again. A ruthless blow aimed straight for the temple without a second thought. The senior's eyes rolled back, his vision fading to white as his body collapsed under the weight of the coward's heavy strike. With that single, underhanded move, the leader was dethroned. A suffocating, terrifying silence suddenly descended upon the entire school courtyard. The seniors' crew stood frozen, paralyzed by a wave of pure shock as they struggled to even draw breath in the tension. One student finally snapped, screaming out in pure rage, "You're insane! How could you betray the man who raised you up?" But as he prepared to scold the traitor, the brown-haired boy met the same fate. A lightning-fast strike cut his words short. The punch landed with devastating power straight to his jaw, sending a shockwave through his skull that silenced him instantly. He spun through the air, crashing onto the pavement, in a heap, knocked out cold before he even realized what hit him. The remaining students bristled, stepping forward to tear this wide-eyed wolf apart, but Dong-su's primal roar stopped them in their tracks. "Shut your mouths. I'm the boss now. I am the undisputed #1 of this entire damn school," he screamed. He challenged anyone who disagreed to step forward, demanding an immediate duel, and his murderous intent turned the crowd to stone. Not a single soul dared to speak as Dong-su slowly calmed his breathing. He then coldly ordered the others to take the senior away. "Move him carefully," he mocked, "unless you want to snap his neck before he even reaches the infirmary." His cruelty knew no bounds. From that moment, Dong-su's reign of terror began. Neither the seniors nor the underclassmen dared to breathe a word against him. Everyone followed his orders like mindless puppets. Soon after, news arrived that the former leader had officially dropped out of school. The students were struck with disbelief, shocked that their former hero would abandon his entire future because of one crushing defeat. Dong-su simply chewed his candy, a dark smirk playing on his lips. He knew the senior's pride would never let him return. The senior's disappearance was a total retreat, meant to avoid Dong-su's shadow, but it only fueled the flames of a new rebellion. Those who loathed Dong-su's tyranny began to turn their backs, cursing him as a piece of human trash and a traitor. But Dong-su silenced every critic, using his ironclad fists to beat submission into anyone who dared to whisper his name in spite. He established a brutal tax system, extorting every student while crushing any hint of resistance with a level of pure violence. He truly believed he was the king, the untouchable god of the campus, until one fateful day, his twisted world began to crumble. His face contorted in sudden fear as his position of power wavered. Standing before him were two figures he never expected to see. Kim San and Taejin had arrived, and the sight before Dongsu was one of absolute carnage and total tactical defeat. His elite guards and top fighters were scattered across the ground, beaten into the dirt by the duo's overwhelming, monstrous strength. This showdown started minutes earlier when Taejin stood tall with Kim San by his side and made a bold, legendary declaration. "From today onwards, we are the ones who rule this school." The delinquents laughed, treating their words like a pathetic, childish joke. "Did you idiots forget to bring your brains to school?" They mocked, completely unaware that their nightmare had just walked through the gates. Taejin felt a flicker of nerves, but he stood his ground firmly. He was merely following the path these bastards had paved themselves. "Remember these laughing faces," he thought as the seniors looked down on them, seeing only two weaklings instead of the coming storm. Dongsu's expression turned pale, all the color draining from his face, as he realized the monsters were finally at his doorstep. Kim San broke into a cold sweat, facing these massive, intimidating thugs, for the first time questioning the reality of this brutal world. He wondered if every senior had to look like a mountain of muscle. The delinquents, fueled by arrogance, began to physically provoke him. They shoved and slapped Kim San's head, laughing at the trash, while their leader, Dongsu, looked like he'd seen a vengeful ghost. His face was twisted in a grimace uglier than a monkey's rear as he watched his empire begin to burn before his eyes. The cycle of bullying was ending, and the real comeback was about to begin with a violence they couldn't possibly imagine. Pure terror, Dongsu's gut screamed. Chills rose, he sweat bullets. "Just a kid," he lied. "He's human, only human. If he's a monster, we die." A show-off lunged forward. Dongsu screamed a warning. They didn't listen, they charged. Taejin panicked and retreated. He bolted. Kim San stood firm. "I'm fine, I think." Taejin ran for his life. A thug blocked his path. One punch, the thug flew. Everyone froze in shock. "What did you just do?" Kim San remained ice cold. "How many are left?" "Kill him," Dongsu ordered. "What did you say?" "Take his life, now." They swarmed him like moths. Numbers versus a tiger. Dongsu's jaw dropped. No trick could stop him. Bodies littered the ground. "Surrender," the leader charged. One hit, absolute silence. Kim San approached Dongsu. "We are the new kings." Dongsu gritted his teeth. "I lose," he lied. He grabbed brass knuckles. Taejin fell for it. He celebrated too early. "We're the bosses, San." Hatred burned in his eyes. He wouldn't lose his throne. He threw a lethal punch. "San, look out, a weapon." Dongsu grinned, unleashing hell. Kim San didn't flinch. Fear paralyzed him. "How?" Kim San crushed his wrist. "Crack," Dongsu screamed. With a sickening crack, Kim San snapped the delinquent's arm using only one hand, leaving Taejin standing there completely paralyzed. Taejin's jaw hit the floor in pure shock, while Kim San's icy gaze remained fixed on the trash beneath his feet. No matter how famous this loser claimed to be, he was nothing more than a pathetic insect compared to San's overwhelming power. Even with a shattered limb, the fool kept barking like a mangy dog, refusing to accept his total and utter defeat. One swift punch to the face finally brought silence, sending the trash talker into a deep sleep to dream about his failure. Taejin's excitement exploded as he cheered wildly, shouting that they were now the undisputed kings of the entire school. The guy's over-the-top celebration was honestly embarrassing, making Kim San cringe at the sheer absurdity of their new legendary status. That night, as the adrenaline faded, Kim San reflected on his actions and felt a strange sense of disbelief within. It felt like a scene ripped straight from a manhwa, surreal and intoxicating, yet his mind struggled to process the transition. While Taejin was drunk on their sudden rise to the top, Kim-san couldn't help but feel a hollow, nagging emptiness. Being the school's top dog should have felt amazing, yet an unsettling knot of discomfort tied itself deep in his gut. Staring at the ceiling, he realized this violent path was drifting far away from the righteous image he once dreamt of. The title of school boss sounded so immature and childish, just another playground bully with a fancy name and ego. His true heart yearned to be a hero, as cool and legendary as the famous icon known as 𝒀𝒆𝒂𝒓𝒔. Lost in his existential crisis, he skipped school for days, yawning away the hours in a cloud of deep, restless boredom. He lamented the mandatory nature of school life until he noticed Taejin waiting for him like a persistent, loyal shadow. Taejin acted like they were lifelong brothers, throwing an arm around him while asking where his powerful leader had been hiding. With the former bully Dongsu officially gone, Taejin was practically glowing with joy, celebrating their rival's pathetic and permanent exit. Kim-san saw right through the act, knowing Taejin only wanted to hide behind his strength like a parasitic shield. Distracted by his own flattery, Taejin slammed right into a massive, wall-like figure, blocking their path with an intimidating presence. Taejin's temper flared instantly as he barked insults at the giant, his ego blinded by his recent association with Kim-san. The stranger's icy stare felt like a death sentence, silently daring the loudmouth to utter even one more disrespectful word. The color drained from Taejin's face as he recognized the monster before him, his bravado instantly replaced by paralyzing fear. Recognizing the legendary dead bear, he started bowing and scraping, desperately begging for forgiveness from the terrifying, high-ranking powerhouse. Kim-san watched in confusion, wondering who could possibly turn a cocky delinquent into a trembling, obedient puppy so quickly. Dead Bear looked down with suspicion, having heard rumors about a new force rising in the school's violent hierarchy. Taejin frantically played the victim, swearing on his life that he was just a law-abiding student minding his own business. The giant's eyes narrowed with a silent, heavy threat, warning them that one wrong move would lead to total destruction. Turning his attention to Kim-san, Dead Bear's tone shifted, worried that Taejin was back to his old, bullying ways. Once satisfied they were supposedly friends, the monster finally turned and stomped away, leaving a trail of pure intimidation behind. Taejin collapsed in relief, as Kim-san demanded to know the identity of the man, who made him nearly faint. That was a member of 𝒀𝒐𝒏, an elite organization of teenage heroes who truly ruled the city's dark underworld. 𝒀𝒏 wasn't just a gang. They were a sanctioned group of young peacekeepers, keeping the most dangerous delinquents in check. While they weren't on the level of the legendary Gregory, they were still genuine superhumans, far beyond any normal human. To an average person, these guys were essentially gods of combat, possessing strength that defied all common martial logic. Being a shut-in loner for years, Kim-san had zero clue about this hidden world of elite teenage legends. Taejin was baffled that someone with Kim-san's insane raw power could be so completely ignorant of the hero society. A chilling thought crossed Taejin's mind, wondering if his friend could actually survive a real battle against a 𝒀𝒏 hero. Kim-san felt the same anxiety, realizing he had no idea where he stood on the global scale of true power. Just seeing Dead Bear was enough to realize that his current strength might be nothing compared to a trained professional. Meanwhile, Bae Yongjun arrived at the prestigious Gregory headquarters, his heart racing with anticipation for his secret meeting. He was there to see the beautiful hero Blue, but he stumbled upon a scene that froze his blood cold. The tension in the air was suffocating as two legendary titans, Papa and Red, were locked in a savage duel. Neither side showed any mercy, their bodies battered and bruised as they tore into each other with animalistic ferocity. Suddenly pinned down in front of an outsider, Red's pride shattered, his rage boiling over at being seen in disgrace. Red's counterattack was lightning fast, trapping his foe in a crushing leg lock before he could even react. As they struggled, Bea watched with bated breath, feeling the intense pressure of their overwhelming combat auras. He hurried to deliver the latest intelligence reports to Blue, covering everything from local schools to underground clubs. Everything seemed routine, until Blue's eyes narrowed at the report regarding the leadership of 𝒀𝒎𝒎𝒏𝒈. The notorious tyrant Dong-su was gone. Blue was stunned that someone had finally managed to topple his reign. Everyone knew Dong-su was a vicious beast, so whoever defeated him had to be an absolute monster. A quick search revealed the shocking truth. The new school boss was Taejin, a mere first-year student. Bea chuckled, recalling how even the seniors were once humiliated by Dong-su. Now, history was repeating itself. Although Bea insisted these kids were no threat, Blue's intuition told her a storm was brewing. Dong-su had ruled with an iron fist, making his sudden defeat feel like a dark, unexplained omen. Suddenly, Bea lost his focus and dared to ask Blue out for a dance, wearing a foolish grin. Blue shut him down with an icy glare, ordering him to focus on monitoring 𝒀𝒎𝒎𝒏𝒈 instead. Dejected, Bea turned to leave, but Blue's sharp voice called him back for one final, terrifying warning. She threatened that one more slip-up would result in him visiting his ancestors for an eternal tea party. Emotionally crushed and teary-eyed, Bea retreated to vent his frustrations to his mentor, the hulking Titan Jin. Jin, a mountain of pure muscle, bragged about his past achievements and his history with the deadly Blue. He claimed he once used a distraction to hug her, a feat he celebrated despite the brutal consequences. That single hug cost him a tooth and 4 broken ribs, leaving him forever terrified of women's wrath. Even with his monstrous strength, Blue was the only person capable of snapping his bones like dry twigs. Jin continued to boast, claiming his raw power could even surpass the legendary warrior known as 𝒏𝒏𝒈. Bea broke into a cold sweat, desperately wondering who was truly stronger, the perfect 𝒏𝒏𝒈 or the terrifying Blue. In theory, men hold the physical edge, but in the world of high-level combatants, those rules are shattered. 𝒏𝒏𝒈's speed, technique, and tactical judgment were considered flawless, earning him the title of a true Superman. If 𝒏𝒏𝒈 was the definition of perfection, Bea wondered who could possibly hold the title of the absolute strongest. Even Jin didn't have the answer, as true 100% perfection is a myth in this world. Ending the useless chatter, Jin handed Bea a massive weight, demanding 10,000 grueling repetitions immediately. Bea realized his superhuman training was turning into a nightmare as he struggled against the soul-crushing weight. The brutal training left Bea unable to walk for a week. Stay tuned to see his legendary evolution. Don't forget to like and share for more epic manhwa recaps of this incredible journey to the top.